credit gets better, will it affect my home loan, or should I wait until they're all off?
Credit's kind of tricky, guys, especially medical collections. So I find that medical collections are probably the easiest thing in terms of derogatory credit to get off of your credit. But generally speaking, creditors are really strict when it comes to removing items off of your credit. A 680 is still good enough to qualify for home ready, for conventional, but I think you're going to get the better terms on FHA right now. So I would say get pre-qualified now, have them work up an action plan. If it requires too much capital to complete so that you improve a guaranteed credit score, I probably would just stick with FHA. If it's not too many action items and doesn't require you to absolutely remove things off your credit like collections, then I might move forward with a credit plan and then wait till it's completed to pursue conventional financing.
Real quick, did everybody get to jump back on? They said it's buffering and it's freezing up. It's because Javier brought over 300 people. So.
Well, that's fun.
I know, right? All right, Damien, do you have any down payment assistance programs available?
Yep. So I work in Arizona, so there's two major programs here. One is Home Ready, one is Home in 5. We work with both of the bond programs, and we work with any municipal grants. So most cities, if you look into their municipal grants, have additional home buying assistance for like first-time home buyers. So you might also look into that as well.
Yeah. Right now, we don't have a question, but maybe we could just go over what the buying process looks like right now in this market.
We have some questions actually on Instagram, so
Oh,
I think it
okay.
might be
Let's
fun
use those.
to answer those questions. And then I can go here and turn off the volume so I don't get distracted. You guys, I am so old. Can we just talk about that?
No,
I'm
she's
about to be older in 1 week.
Yeah, Lizzie has a birthday next week.
All right, so let's see here. So, first-time homebuyers are going conventional. Everyone has outbid us. Any tips? Okay, so she's a first-time homebuyer using conventional financing, feeling frustrated because she is getting outbid. So a couple of strategies, guys, are to, if you're able to figure out an amount that you're willing to pay over and above a purchase price or an appraised value. That's one way to get your offers accepted. I have seen some people comment on videos that I have made about this, saying that they would never do it and it's ridiculous. But if you look at your average appreciation, especially in Arizona, we've been in double-digit appreciation literally for a decade now. You will more than break even in a year, and it's important to know like what it is that you're willing to pay to secure the property that you're needing. People often go off of appraised values, but one issue with that is that it's a look back. It's not like what people are paying today. So it's an opinion of value, right? So everyone has an opinion and they vary. I typically see an appraisal will vary 10% amongst inspectors in general. So you just have to know, like, if you're conventional, that's one leg up, but you still have to be willing to do all of those other strategies. So I hope that helps answer your question. Oh my God. My chatting up with lizards. You guys think it's amazing. You did. You broke my live. I'm just kidding.
Lizard Queen.
Okay, offers with contingent sales are getting overlooked. How to make that more competitive. You guys, any additional layer of risk that you add to a seller's potential net gain is going to be an issue in this market. One thing I can tell you is that if you are able to, right, qualify with a lower down payment to forego your contingency, one trick, and write this down, is that you can do a recast after you close if you decide to sell your house and put down a principal reduction payment, which means that you add more money to your principal, you lower the balance, and then they can re-amortize it as if that was always your down payment. That is a really good strategy to prevent a contingency. Also, maybe think about renting the property and moving in with family for a short period of time. That also removes your contingency. But unfortunately, I get why contingent offers are not being accepted. Okay, so if my partner refinances the house by himself, can my name still be on title? So absolutely. So this happens all of the time. So people, like, let's say for some reason or another, one person can't be on the mortgage. Maybe let's say it's credit or debts. You can still have joint ownership in a property. You just have to let your loan officer know about it. This is something that people get bad information on all the time, and I see spouses disclaim when they don't have to. So definitely push them on it if they say you cannot do it. Now, the only type of loan that has deed restrictions are VA loans, and they only allow for spouses, right? So if you're a girlfriend or a parent or a partner or friend, right, and you want to own a house with someone else that you're not married to, they don't allow it on VA loans. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's see here. Okay, I got some weird loan officer questions that I'm going to answer just in case somebody is a loan officer on here watching the live. But the best place to find out information on different loan programs. So this is probably too technical for people that are, just trying to shop around. But essentially, there are 4 main types of loans: conventional Fannie Mae, conventional Freddie Mac, FHA, and VA, and each of them have their own set of rule books and then grids. But if you go to each of their individual website and look up product matrices, you will find every product with every requirement on there. Okay. And then this one's from Andy Bigel. I don't know if you're on this live, but you should be. It says, one thing that makes you different from other loan officers. Well, I will tell you that the one thing I think that makes me different from other loan officers is that I'm honestly very knowledgeable on things money, on things the economy. I'm very dialed in with metrics, and I'm super intense, right? So the answers that you get are full of passion because I mean them, and I don't answer on things I don't know, right? So
I totally agree with that.
yeah, so I think that's what makes me different. Mm-hmm. Alrighty, so let's see. Let's jump back to the live.
So let me ask you this. I know that you mentioned the contingent offers. What about a bridge loan? Would that help?
Oh, yeah. So, yes, a bridge loan is actually another really great way. I don't even know why I didn't think of that. That's why you're my Super Sam.
Thank you.
So bridge financing is where you get a temporary loan from like a community bank that will take the equity from the property that you're selling it and allow you to use the funds for your down payment. Now, it doesn't technically alleviate the debt issue. So if debt to income ratio is your problem for why you need to sell your property, but it is a solution for assets, right? So down payment funds. So really great thing. And if you guys need a recommendation for that, we work with really awesome community banks that offer it.
Yeah. And then now with how the market's going, how has that impacted our buyers with, the rising purchase prices in Arizona, the lack of inventory, and then now with interest rates going up?
Yeah, so the average home buyer has lost about 3% in purchase power. So if you were buying a $300,000 house, expect that you will have lost $9,000 in purchasing power. But one thing I can say is that you can actually use the stimulus you're about to receive to help replace that and help make your offers more competitive. I did a little bit of research on this, and the average person gets about $5,600. So the average family of 4, $5,600. And then the average return is about $2,300. That can be used towards a down payment. It can be used towards closing costs. It can be used towards appraisal guarantees. I mean, there are definite things that you guys can use those funds for. Oh my God. Wait, so we just got this.
Give Javier a shout out for super fans. Thank you.
And also, hey, Sky, we got this note about answering client questions, but we can't see anything else in the chat.
We don't see any of them.
Yeah. No, we're not seeing anything in the chat.
Are we both not tech savvy?
Yes.
I mean,
they stopped for a long time. So Sammy's been trying to improvise the whole time. This is what happens when old people do lives, guys. I don't know what to tell you. I'm 38, but really I'm 70. I have you know what? I blame it on Nogales. That's what we're going to do. Just blame it on Nogales. All right.
Well, I think you're really tech savvy on certain things that you're familiar, knowledgeable on.
No. What am I tech savvy with? You guys, I had one of those Zoom fails today where I thought I was muted, but I wasn't muted, and I was literally about to cuss something out and then caught that I was not on mute because someone said they could hear me.
You got it? Okay, sweet. Okay, we're up and running again. Don't you guys worry.
Yes.
Okay, let me just go back up to this. Okay, what do you recommend if my home is paid off and I want to pull out cash to buy another home all in cash? A cash out refi or a HELOC? That's a good question.
So I'm going to say right now the best course of action is actually to do a cash out refinance, primarily because interest rates are still historically low, but because you can get a fixed interest rate for 30 years. A HELOC is temporarily low right now, but they can go all the way up to 18% depending on where the Fed funds rate is and where prime is at. So I would recommend personally just locking in for 30 years. And also you'll have more capabilities of getting cash out on a refi than you will a HELOC.
And then Max asked, what are some things I should ask my lender to do if an appraisal comes in low?
So here's the thing. It's not really up to your lender, but your lender can submit a dispute. What you really have to do is talk to your real estate agent and make sure that they're submitting an appraisal package, right, to the appraiser when they go out and do the inspection. There's a lot of onus that needs to be taken on in terms of real estate agents providing that information because they're the ones that are doing the comps. They're the ones that know the market area. But we can submit an appraisal dispute with the information that they provide us. It normally takes about 48 to 72 hours to have the appraiser review it. Now, if it's a really terrible report, though, your loan officer can advocate to have it removed. And there is a process for that, which requires like a second appraiser review it and then find deficiencies. And then your underwriter can tell you if they can throw it out or not. So there are some things the loan officer can do, but mainly it's going to be with your realtor.
Okay. And I have a conventional loan. Should I refinance to an FHA loan?
No. Why would you do that? Your FHA loans, you pay mortgage insurance for the life of the loan. And I don't know why you would do that. I would need more details.
Okay. And Juan asked, Dear Lizzy, how different are the interest rate payments per month when putting 10% down compared to...
Javier, you spent $100 on this super chat?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Thank you for sending me the text message. Holy shit. Thank you.
You're seriously amazing. We love you so much. And by the way, I learned so much from you the other day when you came in and taught us all about YouTube.
Oh my God. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate this.
Yeah. Okay, back to Juan. Dear Lizzy, how different are the interest rate payments per month when putting 10% down or putting 5% down and doing a single premium buyout?
So consider mortgage payments to differ somewhere around $5 per thousand. If you're doing a single premium payout, normally when you do 5%, it's really based on credit, debt to income ratio, the number of people that are on your loan. So it's hard for me to give you an exact figure. But the highest I've ever seen a single premium is somewhere around 4% for lowest down payments. And when you start putting down, 10% or more, they really go down significantly, more than half. The better the credit, the lower the MI. So, I can recommend some really good loan calculators, but if you're trying to figure out, does it make sense on your principal and interest, calculate $5 per thousand.
Okay. And then Rob said, is there any way around 15% down payment on a single family investment home, like 3% or 5%?
No, you guys, that's the lowest. But here's what I will say. I have 2 clients that have been serial investors, and what they end up doing is that they buy a primary residence. They're 2 roommates from college. They buy a primary residence. They each occupy a room in a 5-bedroom house and then rent out the other 3 rooms. And they've successfully been able to live rent-free and then save enough money based on the cash flow to buy other properties. So there's multiple ways of investing in a property so long as you're willing to sacrifice some space.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Amanda asked, with home prices so high, it's hard to hit the down payment to avoid PMI without bankrupting savings. Is there any way around that? Or super low PMI?
Here's what I will tell you, that in a market that's appreciating at the pace that we are seeing it, I would buy, and also right now because there are inflation concerns. So just so you know, when inflation goes up, your loan is actually worth less and less. So it actually pays to put the money in a mortgage to borrow, even if you're paying PMI, then take your money out of the market or out of your savings, your 401ks, and et cetera. So just keep that in mind. And then secondly, on a conventional loan, you pay mortgage insurance for a minimum of 2 years. And if your property has 25% equity at the end of that 2 years, you can request that the mortgage company order an appraisal to verify that, and then they can terminate your mortgage insurance. So, I mean, it is just a 2-year commitment, so maybe think about it that way.
Okay, we actually have another one. RW said, how much should I bribe my appraiser to get the house I want in Tucson?
Oh my Lord. Well, thank you for the $5 first and foremost. I didn't even know this feature was on.
It's super cool.
First of all, you can't bribe your appraiser, but your agent can put together a really stellar appraisal package full of information, current sales, where the market is trending. But honestly, they're the only people that can have any contact with the appraiser. They follow really strict guidelines, so unfortunately there's no bribing, but they definitely can provide them with information to help them see your value.
Okay, and Juan said, I would send a super chat, but apparently I need the money since I've just lost 3% buying power with these interest rates.
I know, it sucks, guys. But here's the thing, just so you guys know, a year ago today, we were actually an 1/8 higher in interest rate. So just know that some of this is seasonal, right? Some of this is seasonal. Last year we were panicking, right? And then the Fed started buying more mortgage-backed securities. And by April time, we were way back into the 2s. So I just want you to know, I also think that interest rates will go down. Now, it's hard because if you're in a 30-day transaction, you really need to lock in because it's going to be super volatile.
And then James said, is a kidney enough for bribing the seller? You guys are...
You know what? If they need a kidney, I could see it, you know? I mean... But I think that's actually probably considered an inducement to the purchase contract. It's abnormal, so I probably wouldn't do it.
All right, and then Jay asks...
Firstborn child blood sample. You know what, guys?
You guys are, like, cracking me up. I needed a good laugh today. Okay, so Jay asks, if we are at the top of the market now, shouldn't I sell and then rent for a while and then buy again when the market dips?
Here's the thing. How do you know we're at the top of the market now? Like, it's such a hard thing to predict. When we're reviewing the last boom, it's crazy. People still thought we were in a boom until 2007 when the market shifted at the end of 2005. And then we didn't even hit bottom until 2011, and we only knew that we hit bottom because we started increasing and could look back. So It's really hard to say. I still think that there's so many factors for why real estate is going to continue to increase despite mortgage rates. We're talking super low demand or super low supply, guys. When I say that, we literally have 18% less inventory and 77% increase in demand. Like, more people than ever need a home. So it's just so hard. It's just so hard to say that it's going to turn anytime soon because of those numbers.
Aaron said, do you find that USDA is hard to qualify for due to the current market? I don't hear many discuss this loan option.
The reason most people don't discuss the loan option is because, quite frankly, we work in areas that aren't considered rural. Arizona used to have a lot of different places in which, the population was lower and it was considered farmland. But it's been like honestly 6 years plus since we've really had anything substantial. I would say that if you're buying in a rural area, I don't know what the competition is like, but I would assume that it's not as competitive as if you were buying infill. But it's probably along the same lines as any FHA or VA loan, right?
Shout out to Oscar Romo. Thanks for the $2.99. He said, I'm bringing a taco truck to bribe my seller.
You know what,
Everyone
guys?
loves tacos.
Everyone loves tacos. Might be weird, but you never know, right? You never know.
What should I do? Oh, this is Jose. What should I do in order to get a better appraisal?
Again, guys, you got to interview the right real estate agent. That's my answer. You got to ask your real estate agent what their appraisal plan is, how well they know the market area. Do they do zip code appreciation and search, right? Do they know the market as well as Javier knows the market, right? Like, that's a really good example of what it looks like to talk to an educated real estate agent about the market. If they can't answer the tough questions, if they don't have a process for how they deal with appraisals, that's a red flag. So if you guys are having those kinds of issues, you got to look into the real estate agent you're working with.
And Sarah just asked, hi Sarah, I'm not sure if you touched base on this yet, but Fannie Mae's statement about investment properties and second homes.
So I haven't touched on this. Also, guys, Sarah Prensno is one of our awesome real estate agent partners. We love working with her. She's also a really great agent in the market.
Yeah.
So essentially, well, I don't know how to explain this because the SLRs actually go in the same stream as what's happening with investment homes and second homes. But essentially, we were given a lot of leniency last year when it came to what was being able to be financed through Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. But essentially, their conservatorship agreement limits them to 7%, market share of non-owner occupants. And so now they're enforcing it. They decided to enforce it overnight. Various lenders have different pricing hits for it. I've heard some as high as 2%. It really just depends on the bank that you're working with and how many investment loans or second loans they were really writing and how much they have to slow down their traffic. Ours has been fairly nominal, honestly. I know investment rates are in the 4s and second home rates are in the mid 3s, which is not astronomical. I mean, that's where they've literally been for the last 5 years. So I don't think it's detrimental to anyone buying, but I have heard some banks say as high as 2% increases.
Okay. And then Neo, thank you so much. My realtor tells me if I rent my current place and get a second home, lenders only look at 75% of the condo as income. Is that correct?
So it's of your net rent. So it's 75% of the rent. And then they subtract it against what your current housing payment is and the HOA.
Okay. And then Britt just asked, can you use a VA loan to buy one of the Lennar multi-generational homes, or are those considered investment properties?
I unfortunately don't know what that product is, but I'm super interested in it, so I will look at it.
Yeah.
I imagine that you can use a VA loan on any loan in which you are going to be the primary occupant of.
Okay. And then ASH, can I qualify for a loan with a credit score of 600, 650, and for which loan can I look into?
Primarily FHA. I mean, anything under a 680 is really going to be more FHA category. Technically speaking, you can qualify for a conventional loan with a 620, but you have to get approved through the automated system, and they've really made those requirements a lot more conservative.
Okay. Juan, thank you again. What can I do to ensure that my loan closes ASAP, like 30 days, rather than being dragged out for 45 or 60 days?
That's a really great question to ask your lender up front. Ask them what their underwriting turn times are, how quickly do they have a production plan for efficiency for guaranteeing a 30-day close of escrow. If they can't answer that question, it's probably not a good idea to work with them. Also, if you're working for a big box bank, or like a Quicken Home Loans, realize they're doing hundreds of thousands of loans. And so unfortunately you are just one in many. So I probably would work with a mortgage banker versus a broker or any of the large big banks, because they can control their timing a lot more and their underwriting is in-house.
And then, Andy is on here. Is Leslie on here as well?
Andy, did you hear my comment?
He said, how many loans do you need to be closing per month before transitioning to your own branch as a lender?
Oh my God, you love to bite off more than you can chew. Dude, it's at least like 5 years and you can't have any loan issues, right? Like no one wants a manager that has loan issues who isn't going to prioritize their other issues, right? So it's when your shit is super dialed in and you have at least 20 plus closings a month consistently.
Mm-hmm. And Ben says, really disappointed on raising costs and rates for second homes. Will they stay this way, or do you see them changing?
Guys, this is what it was for a long time. And I know it sucks because, lots of people were using real estate as an investment. Lots of people want to do Airbnbs, but there is some significant potential damage to having a marketplace that is owned primarily by investors and vacationers. That's a lot of the reason why the crash originally was so catastrophic. It's because when the going got tough, those are the first properties that we offload. So keeping it to 7% really just protects all of our home values. So as much as it's a bummer, because I also want to invest in real estate, I realize the importance to overall market protection.
Yep. Okay, and then Let's see. Can you lock your rate on a new build home at the start of the process?
Depends on how far along their build process is. I've heard as long as 9-month locks, but you realize that that's going to come at a huge cost, right? So locks essentially are the cheapest at 15 days, then 30 days, 45, and 60, right? And then they get fairly expensive at 90 days, and then when you add another 30 days, they get even more and more expensive. So oftentimes it's way better for you to float till you're in that 60-day lock period. Especially in a time like now, I think you would just be locking in kind of where rates are the highest, given the seasonality of when rates rise.
Okay, International E. I'm CTC. Short sale approval expires 3/29. Seller's walking away with $0. Title wants to close 3/26. Seller not able to leave till 3/29. Out of ideas since it's a short sale. Any advice?
I mean, your short sale approval expires on the 29th. I might just do a lease back to the seller and close on the 26th, right? They have to provide all of the documents back within like 72 hours to the bank because they have to approve it and release you to record. You probably won't even record till the 29th anyway, but you want to be so sure that you are on time with those things because short sales, they can just pull your approval if you miss a deadline.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's very good to know. Currently going into underwriting. Any tips on it?
Yes. Make sure that you shop for homeowners insurance and provide that quote to your lender as soon as possible. Make sure that you keep a folder on your desktop for updated paycheck stubs and bank statements, and that you have it readily available in case they ask you for it multiple times.
Agreed. And then for escrow closing at the end of the month for a new build, would you suggest locking now or waiting?
For the end of May?
May.
I mean, I wouldn't have locked in today given the swing back in the market. I think this is one where you really have to be in touch with your lender. I don't know your specific requirements. I think that there's enough time to float it out, truthfully, because you're not within 30 days. But really talk to them, and they know your credit situation, etc. Also make sure that they don't have an expired credit report, by the way. This happens a lot on new builds. People forget to re-pull the credit. Credit only stays good for 120 days. So you had a 9-month build time, they should have re-pulled your credit. So just make sure that they do that before you lock.
Buying, well, there's
Does
actually...
that say boiled nuts?
It says boiled nuts. Okay, now I have to ask the question. I'm curious to know, how would you go about buying a primary residence for yourself being a loan officer? Boiled nuts, are you a loan officer?
Well, I bought a primary residence 3 years ago. It's the same way that I make every decision. It's when my budget says it's ready. So I knew that I was going to be, so my kids, just so you guys know, are 8, 5, and 2. And so I knew that the home that I was going to live in was going to be in their school district, and I probably am not going to move for 18 years. So I planned 5 years before I knew I was moving, right, where I wanted to live, what that budget would have to look like. 6 months before I made the decision to actually pull the trigger on it, I actually started making that mortgage payment to my current home just to make sure that it felt comfortable within my budget. So I always recommend budgeting it out, planning accordingly, making sure that you can feel comfortable with the terms at current rates and maybe a % higher, right, given that the market is so aggressive. But those are going to be my best tips for you.
That is the best advice. I was just thinking about that for our next home. Like, if I would feel comfortable making that payment, I should just do it on our current one.
Yeah, just budget out, do it on your current one, see how you feel. What was awesome about doing that is that I didn't notice the payment as much as I thought I would.
Okay.
Right? So I was more scared about having a payment like that. And then when it came to it, I was like, okay, well, I just adjusted my spending.
I love it.
Yeah.
Gosh, this is why you're amazing. Okay, Julia says, so if someone gets approved for a $300,000 loan and the house is listed for $250,000 and they want to offer $50,000 above asking, does that get covered by the loan, or is that extra out of pocket?
So I believe I answered you on my last video, but just so you know, no, you cannot finance in the difference. So the purchase price has to be $300,000, then it has to appraise for $300,000, and then you can finance it. So a lot of times we see that an asking price for a home is like 250, but the bidding goes up and the purchase price ends up being somewhere around 300,000. Sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't. But no, there isn't a loan that allows you to get negative equity. That actually was a loan type back in the crash, and they have not brought it back.
RW said, Maggie, if I get the house, big if, will you come to my housewarming party?
Who's Maggie?
I don't know.
Well, I hope Maggie comes. I don't know.
Yes, we're rooting for you. Okay. Okay, should I buy now or wait?
Again, guys. Oh yeah, what would my answer be?
If it fits your budget, then yes.
Yes, and the reason that I say that, guys, is there's always going to be ebb and flows with every type of investment that you make, and you're going to have to live somewhere, right? So you're either going to be paying rent unless you have the luxury of living with family for free, right? So there is going to be a housing cost of some kind. And so when you own real estate, if you understand how appreciation works, regardless of ebbs and flows in equity, real estate doubles every 20 years. And so if your budget says it's ready and it's a long-term plan, like a not get rich quick scheme, right? Where I've seen people like, oh, I bought a home 6 months, I'm selling it for a profit. I mean, that works sometimes, right? But it's not guaranteed. And so if your budget says it's ready, it's a long-term investment, I say buy now.
Okay. So after the Feds talked today and they confirmed that they are continuing to buy mortgage-backed securities, do you think that the mortgage interest rate will go down similar to back in December?
So here's the thing. So I felt pretty confident about that at the very beginning of the year, but they haven't been buying as many mortgage-backed securities as they actually said that they were going to buy, which has really disappointed me, primarily because inflation legitimately is a concern of theirs, and they're not our only investors. So typically we have a lot of foreign governments that purchase mortgage-backed securities as part of their investments. And we haven't seen them purchasing mortgage-backed securities. So that's why there's so much volatility. I think the biggest things that will drive interest rates down, truthfully, is if they keep inflation at bay and they continue to allow a little bit more leniency in that liquidity. If they don't allow the leniency on that liquidity regulation, we'll see a lot of banks have to sell. Because quite frankly, they're writing too many loans and don't have enough money to back it up. So smaller banks will end up kind of crumbling in this environment. So it's interesting to see how that'll play out. And if that plays out, that'll be bad for rates.
Okay, and Dylan asks, my wife owns and operates a preschool and recently became profitable and able to take an income. Should we wait to buy until her income history is longer, or do we approach a loan with her self-employment?
I would say approach a loan so you can at least figure out what you qualify a loan with. If she has not been able to report an income, you're not going to be able to use it. You have to have at least 1 year on a tax return, but oftentimes you have to average between 2 years. So if 1 year was negative and 1 year is positive, you're averaging the 2 years out. So I would qualify now, figure out what the plan needs to look like, and maybe anticipate buying in 2022.
Okay.
And then was there a super chat thing?
We answered that one.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, so Aaron asks, any info on Biden's first-time home buyers $15,000 credit?
No. I think the stimulus is probably like the next best thing, truthfully. It's quite a bit of money when you couple it with your tax refund. The reason I'm assuming that they're not bringing it out, truthfully, is because the housing market is already at max capacity. And I think that it's just like we don't need any more demand.
Okay. Juan, you were cracking me up. He just said, purchase a little over your budget and eat ramen noodles or a little under so you can have Chef Boyardee.
Dude, can I
We
just tell you?
had this conversation.
This was literally what happened to me. My biggest regret ever, is I bought a property with my brother. I was the only person on the loan. It was a 2-year adjustable mortgage because my loan officer, also my boss at the time, was like, don't worry, I'm going to give you a raise and it'll be fine in 2 years. Market crashes, I lose my job because the market crashed, then I have an adjustable rate mortgage with a brother who bailed, and legitimately only $10 a week. Thank God I live next to a Walmart. I lived off of ramen noodles, right? Because you could get like 5 for $1. I mean, it sucked so bad. So no, you don't want a bad mortgage. So do not buy over your budget.
No. We were just having this conversation today.
Yeah.
Okay. Kelly asks, I have remarks on my credit report and I'm in the process of closing my loan. Lender is telling me I have to get them removed. What is the quickest way to do that? That's a good question.
Wait, are you in the process of closing on your home loan right now, or are you getting pre-qualified?
I haven't seen that, but we got RW's answer. He meant me.
Oh, sorry. I was like, oh. What?
Do I need to? So, maybe I'll go to your housewarming party. And do I need my own title insurance? Fannie.
Wait, we didn't answer that one question.
I'm waiting for her to.
Oh, respond? Is that
Yeah,
the-
I'm waiting for her to respond. On.
Here's what I'm going to say. If you're in the process of closing your home loan and they're now just talking to you about things you have to do on your credit to fix your credit, like one, I would speak to your loan officer ASAP. This is a really big red flag. When you're altering credit in your timeline, like you could really jeopardize your overall qualification, and it's very difficult to remove things. Right? It's very difficult. You have to get a deletion letter, and then even then it's like 5 to 7 days before they'll even have the rescore back. And typically close of escrows are 30 days. So honestly, if you could see the stress on my face, like it's a really big deal that they're having you do this right now in the process.
Yeah, definitely. And then RW asked, do I need my own title insurance? Fannie Mae, of course, kept stressing that I buy my own title insurance.
You get title insurance with your home loan. So the bank has also the same amount of interest. So like, think about it like this, guys. The bank is your business partner when you're buying real estate. So the bank's interests are your interests, right? They have the more of the money on the line, right, than you do. So they care a lot about title insurance. They care a lot about liens. They care a lot about your insurance. They're going to make sure that their investment is protected at all costs. So if you're getting a home loan, you don't really have to stress out about insurance because we do the due diligence on that.
All right. And also Kelly answered to that question, pre-qualified.
Okay. Whew, thank God,
so much
girlfriend.
better. Okay, let's see. Inflation has to happen and might help correct this madness some stocks are thinking of. Is that a question?
I think what he's saying is that inflation has to happen and they need to increase interest rates to correct all of this madness. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of a really weird time in the world as it stands. I'm going to say something a little bit heavy, and please try not to judge me at the moment because I want to give you the best financial advice possible, regardless of politics. But one of the things that makes me the most sad is that the reason that they're giving all of this stimulus to what they call the poorest Americans is because they know that they're going to just spend it. Right? You're going to get $5,000 and some people will spend it on like PS3s and new golf clubs or a car. And that while that's important to the government and it's important to the economy and it's all for stimulus, yes, it still just makes me super sad that people wouldn't use it to help benefit themselves. Like, what debt can you pay down to free up some cash flow? What investments can you make to save for your retirement? Can you use this to buy real estate? And those are the smart things that people need to start thinking about when they get this stimulus. But it's also going to create issues with inflation. So the costs, like everything is so messed up right now because supply chain is messed up and there's not enough goods to go out for all the people that are wanting to buy them. So it's going to create just more demand. So I don't know, it's just really messed up. But if you get your stimulus package, guys, make a smart decision with it.
Yes. Okay. Would you recommend managing your own rental property or hiring someone? Property management company.
So this is the opposite of what I just said. I think you should calculate your hourly rate.
Yep.
And you should figure out, is it cost benefit? Do you have a cost benefit to you spending your valuable time on managing your own property? I say, me personally, no, because I also don't want to get a 3:00 in the morning phone call about somebody's pipe.
Hey, Lizzie, if I had a rental property foreclosure 10 years ago, could I still refinance my personal residence now?
Yep. Foreclosures, guys, only impact you 7 years.
Okay.
And that's only on conventional financing too. FHA, it's 3.
Oscar, great. That's awesome. He paid his debt with his stimulus.
Yes. Great job, Oscar.
Yes. Love it. Okay, there was one, I know somebody asked, her close of escrow is on April 9th, and she wants to know if she needs to lock in.
Yeah, you're definitely within 90 days, or excuse me, 30 days. So I would definitely have locked in by now. I'm surprised that your loan officer hasn't talked to you about this already. Just so you guys know, when you enter into a purchase contract, one of the first conversations you guys should have is about interest rates, about the loan paperwork. I know that things can get a little bit off track because of just, overall overwhelm in the mortgage industry, but typically think about having those conversations right away.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Tiara asked, if you have student loan debt and it dropped off your credit report, but you still owe the balance, do you have to tell your lender?
1,000%. It's one of the questions on the application. It says, are you currently or presently delinquent on any federal debt?
And guys, we always find out.
Yeah, honestly, can I just
We
tell you,
always find
as
out.
a loan officer, I hate when people hide things from me. I cannot even tell you, like that video that shows up when you guys log into my channel. That's literally my life. I can't even tell you how I'm like, it's awkward. It's like, hey, they're saying you just quit your job, or hey, did you just buy a car? Like, I mean, do not hide this stuff, and definitely ask these questions. We monitor credit all the way up until the time you fund. We monitor employment literally the day we send the money for your loan. Like, don't hide it from us. Let us proactively plan for all of your decisions.
Mm-hmm. Mark, how does the Fed keep the interest rates low?
So this is actually a really, really great question. So most of the time people think it's with the Fed funds rate, and that's the rate that the federal government loans to banks to like supply short-term financing. The way that they're currently keeping mortgage rates low are that they're buying mortgage-backed securities. The more people invested in mortgage-backed securities, the lower the actual overall interest rate is for the consumer. So that's what they're doing right now.
Okay. And the next question is, I want to close my credit card that I paid down with my stimulus check. Can I just simply close it, or should I keep it open at a zero balance?
Keep it open at a zero balance. Once you close the credit account, it'll actually have a negative impact on your score. My best recommendation is to cut it up, shred it, don't use it anymore, and have it age off your report. Now, the caveat to that is that you will want to make sure that you are monitoring your credit and that you log in every 6 months or so, because certain credit cards have annual fees, and you also just want to make sure that nobody has taken the number from you.
Yeah, that's really smart about the annual fees.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people forget about that. I'm in the middle of the pre-approval process. Should I use my stimulus to pay off my car loan?
I would only do that if your loan officer recommends it. And primarily for that is because sometimes you can add additional conditions to yourself, right? So like they'll want to verify that the car is actually paid off. They'll want to know where the funds came from. And so you might be just adding additional paperwork that is unnecessary. So if you're in the process and they haven't asked you to pay off your car, I would wait till afterwards. And if you're paying it off to free up cash flow, that's a really great decision. Now, the one thing about auto loans though, is that they're typically things that people buy every 2 or 3 years. And so if this is something that you might consider doing, you might want to use the money for like more asset or income producing investments.
Mm-hmm. Okay. My closing will be on 4/16. Just locked my rate at 3.75% on FHA. I'm not sure if that's a good rate or not.
I don't know what your credit score is. That seems a little high to me. But I also don't know what your credit situation is.
Okay. There's a few up here that we... Oh, wait, actually... Oh, Skylar. Thanks, Skylar. I'm sure you're talking to Lizzie, but thanks.
Guys, that's my husband with this super amazing
I know.
thing that just came up.
Okay, I know there are a few good ones up here.
Oh, thanks, Zach. That was super kind of you, by the way. I really appreciate the support.
Yeah. Kristen asked, or Christian, can closing costs be put into your home loan?
So on a refinance, absolutely. And then on a purchase loan, the only way to include closing costs would be to bump up the interest rate and request a lender credit.
Okay, and then they also just asked, my lease ends in August. Would you recommend starting to look for a home now with how crazy this market is? In my current lease, I have to give a 45-day notice.
So I always recommend getting pre-qualified as soon as you can, primarily because you need to understand what your buying power looks like, how much money you'll need to save, things that are super crucial. It's down payment, reserves, closing costs, right? You have to make sure that you check all of the boxes on that. If there's any discrepancies on your pay due to COVID, you want to make sure that you know what all of the issues might be so that you can get them corrected. And then I would personally recommend, I think, it's taking people 4 months to find a property, so searching now might not be a problem. But let's say you get under contract on a property, you also have to be prepared to maybe make double payments for a month or two. So that's my advice on that.
Yeah, and I agree with that because I feel like I started looking in August and I didn't find something until the end of the year. So, but it was good just to know what I started searching, I could save more money, and then, so.
Absolutely. Alrighty, guys. So we have time for 3 more questions, so get them in the chat.
All right, so if you had to bet a quarter, will rates be under 3% this summer or go closer to 4%?
I think that we will see rates get into the high 2s again, and I think that they'll end the year in the mid to high 3s.
Okay, and then looking to buy a house but want to get my credit higher, should I get another credit card?
It depends on what your credit already looks like, right? So if you have 8 credit cards, I'm going to say no. Primarily what it's based on is, guys, length of time. So the longer you have credit accounts, the better. The payment history, so paying on time, is super important. Keeping your revolving credit under 30% of the limit, super important. And then making sure that you have diversified lines, right? So 2 credit cards for an installment loan. And so if you can keep credit like 3 lines like that for 2 years plus, you should have a very competitive credit score.
This is actually a really good statement. This is from David. No question, but fun fact, my lender asked me lender asked my job to confirm I was working remote. I commute 2 to 3 hours from the new house.
So it is not a crazy request. I mean, anything that is abnormal, so not considered within a commuting distance, so like 30-minute drive or an hour drive, depending on where you live, they will ask questions like this. The same thing for you guys, like who are able to work right now remotely in COVID. We have lots of clients who are doing that, but they haven't told their employers that they're going to be working in a different state. These are all things that have to be verified, whether or not you think they're absurd.
Okay, Andy asked, taking this $5 away from Javier Fund, what's the big Fed banks that they're meeting on that everyone's waiting for? Isn't that the Fed announcement today?
That's the Fed announcement, right? So that happened today. It was, thank God, very anticlimactic. Depending on what news comes out about the bank liquidities is going to push the market one direction or another. Right, so if there's risk that these banks might close down, people are not going to want to buy mortgage-backed securities,
Yeah, and then Neo just asked, buying a second home, but would like to refinance on the current home. Would you wait to refinance on the first home until after you get the second primary?
No, you would want to refinance the first home, and then hypothetically, you technically have to wait a year. I know some lenders are a little bit less lenient on that restriction. But if you're already in the market, already under contract on that second home, you might have missed your opportunity to refinance the first one.
And that's because the first one will then now be an investment property, right?
It's all based on occupancy and benefit, right? So I don't know what the interest rate is. I mean, it might still make sense, but you'd be refinancing it as a vacation home or an investment property, depending on how far it is from the new property.
Okay. Almas?
Sure.
All right. My closing date is June. Do you think I should lock the rate in April or wait until May to see where the rates go and if they'll go down?
What? My closing date is in June.
June. Should she?
I mean, I would say that if your close of escrow is longer than 30 days, I would cautiously float and keep in communication with your lender. And then I know Victor just said 2 weeks ago it was a great Fed day. Yep, that's what happens, guys. It's like he's like the groundhog. It's like, is it going to be winter for a long time? Is it going to be summer? And depending on what he says, the markets go into a frantic frenzy.
So
you
you're
know,
saying we have 8 more weeks of a frenzy?
no, well, I'm hoping that I have like a couple of minutes of calm. But I will let you guys know. I post market updates all the time on what's happening with interest rates, on that stuff, all on my Instagram. So if you guys follow me there, I typically have updates, you know, a couple times a week on what's happening with the mortgage market.
Okay.
Alrighty, guys. So I super appreciate you guys showing up for my live. Sammy, this was awesome. Dustin, I heard you were part of this too. Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
And Javi, I can't thank you enough for all of your support and for bringing all these people here. You guys are amazing. You mean the world to me. We'll probably do some kind of giveaway with all the money that was donated today. I appreciate you guys so much.